Let's try that again. YouTube Lokaya Nama. And let's see if anybody's here to talk to me. We got... Nobody's here. So there was people wait. Oh, somebody's here. Nicole, Lee, Melanie. Nice to see you guys. So, how do I say this name? Name Nemami me? Pretzime? Angel Ani Prasad Sunit. Wow, okay, great. So guys, ladies, what am I supposed to talk about today? You know what I wanted to do was I wanted to start to do this based on themes rather than just any old question from any old place out of the blue. So start to think like what theme, you could suggest to me some themes. Suggest me some themes to use for next week. If they pop in your head, let me know. Definitely after the video is up there as a recording, put it down there as a comment. It's easier for me to find it. If you have an idea for next week's theme. And then all the questions will be about that theme. Questions and answers about that theme. All right, everyone. Ava, Popoki, Jesus, Lisa. Give me a question. Let's have a question. Let's talk astrology. Yeah, you can do it. If you have follow-up questions from Parisa's videos, that's great. For sure. Oh, I see. We could do that as a theme. That's something. That's a possibility. Good idea. All right, so let me see. Somebody give me a good question to start off with. All right, here's a question. How can we see why we were reborn? How can you see why you were reborn? In many ways, not just through astrology. There are many ways to see why you were reborn. And actually, there's the same basic answer for everybody. The same basic answer of why you're reborn is because you still haven't gotten it right. So that's the basic answer, is you still haven't gotten... Hey, I don't really need this, do I? Because you guys can't really talk to me. You still haven't gotten it right. We still haven't gotten it right. We still haven't figured out what life really is, who we really are, and what our role is in the whole thing. And that's why you keep taking rebirth. Now, that's not a very specific answer, but that's the basic answer that's important for everybody to know. That's what we're trying to figure out, is what is our relationship with the rest of the existence, and what's our role in existence? What's existence all about? That's what we're trying to figure out. Then you still don't need astrology to get more detail about that. You can just look at your life and look at the things that you're getting right and the things that you're getting wrong. The things that you're getting right will be producing pleasant results. You'll be feeling happy and calm and peaceful about them. So those are the things that have you on the right track, you know. And look at the things that are causing you distress. That's where you can find out why you're being reborn, because those are the things that you're not getting right. So the secret to the whole thing is not to think that you have to fix the problem someplace in the world. But you have to fix the problem. There's no problem in the world. The problem is in us. The world is just here to wait for us to get it right so that we can go to a more real place. So don't think in terms of, look, Vic just said that I should see what's causing me distress, and that will indicate why I was reborn. Well, my boyfriend's causing me distress, so I need a better boyfriend, then I won't get reborn. It's not like that. You don't need a solution in the external world. The problem is with your own approach to life. That's what's going to keep you being reborn. So figure out about what is it about my approach to this whole concept of having a boyfriend or this particular boyfriend. What is it about my approach that's not in harmony with reality? Now, taking that to astrology, you can just look in astrology for the same thing. Where are the indicators in the chart that are showing where blessings come from? That's the stuff I'm doing right. I should try to do more of that. What's the stuff in my chart that's showing where problems are coming from? That's the stuff that I need to correct. That's why I was reborn in this life. So you're actually reborn not just to experience the problems, but also to experience the rewards, because they both teach you. The problems and the rewards, the good stuff and the bad stuff in your life, both teach us what we should and shouldn't be doing. That's why Upanishads say nivritis and pravritis have to be together. You have to have nivriti, which means a negative approach, and pravriti, which means a positive approach. And then you can get vigyan, or understanding of life. So the negative approach means understanding what we're doing wrong, and the positive approach means understanding what we're doing right. So basically, benefic planets like Jupiter and Venus help point out. Usually, their basic role is to help point out to you what you're doing right. And we should try to be more like benefic planets, generous, forgiving, not self-centered. And then generally, the malefic planets, Saturn and Mars, will point out where you're getting nivriti, where you're getting punishment. And we should try to be less like those negative planets. Generally. You can see in everybody's horoscope it's a little different. Okay, cool. That's a nice initial question. Let's see what else we got here in the question queue. Here's a related question that just caught my eye. How to see if this is the first or last life of a person to their chart? Well, you can't see that. You can't see that because moksha... Okay, this is a bit of a philosophical point that we should try to understand. Liberation from the cycle of birth and death is not created by the cycle of birth and death. It's just like, let me think of a good example. An ice cream machine doesn't make red wine. An ice cream machine makes ice cream. Similarly, karma makes karma. It doesn't make moksha. So the cycle of birth and death and all the things that astrology knows about don't produce moksha. Moksha is something that you have to make conscious effort to make happen. Like we were just talking about in the previous question. You have to figure out what is wrong in my approach to the world, not what's wrong in what's happening to the world. Karma dictates what's going to happen in the world to you. And astrology can foretell that or make very educated guesses about that by studying the configuration of the universe. By studying the configuration of the world, you can tell what it's about to do. Just like if you're a fighter and you see the other guy's posture, you can tell what he's about to do. So we can tell what the karma is, but we can't tell what your reaction is going to be to it. We can probably predict because most people don't do anything special. Most people just follow reflexes. But to achieve moksha, you're going to have to not follow reflexes. You're going to have to make conscious choices. So you can't see from a chart if a person is going to achieve moksha or not. But what about Ketu in the 12th house? But what about blah, 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 blah? That just shows you that you may have better or worse opportunities to achieve moksha. Like if your karma is that you're going to be born in the Himalayan mountains in a cave as the son of a yogi or daughter of a yogi, then you have a much better chance. It's much easier for you to make decisions and choices that would lead you to moksha. So you can see that external condition in the horoscope. So you would just want to see prominent. So then the question would be refined to be, how would you know if the external conditions are going to be favorable to moksha, then you would simply want to sort out sort out the basics first, and then all these questions become easy. Sort out what are the moksha houses, what are the moksha planets, what signs have to do with moksha. So the water element has to do with moksha. So water signs, Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer will be favorable to moksha. The 4th, 8th, and 11th, 4th, 8th, and 12th houses and their lords will be favorable to moksha. Then there's one of those divisional charts that's in the 20s. I believe it's the 24th or something. That's talks a lot about the knowledge that's required for moksha. There's one of those divisional charts. It's not often used in readings because most people don't really care. But and then the planets like K2. And K2 is the big one. Or other combinations like Saturn can be very moksha oriented because it puts the brakes on everything. So see if those configurations are prominent, see if those planets are prominent and in configurations that are wonderful. That are wonderful. That are all lined up and point in the same direction. Let's see what other questions we got. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the front. Metallica song. And I'm going to see the next question that catches my eye. And then what I'll do is I'll see if there's any other questions that are related to it that have been asked already. When you do synastry, it's only from the ascendant point. No. You can do synastry. Well, I don't know. Maybe there's a technical definition of synastry that I'm not aware that you're using. But the way that I would use synastry is to put two charts together in one place. Sometimes I don't use the right technical terms because I didn't really do the formal official stamp of approval study from the recognized institutions. But the way I use the word synastry is putting two charts together. And then once the two charts are together, you can look at it. You can look at any 2 points, but the points you should look at are the quick points, which is the ascendant, moon, especially Venus, especially if it's a romantic relationship, Mercury, maybe if it's more about friendship or business, and the sun. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, related question to the spiritual question was, what can you see about the Atma? You can't see anything about the Atma. You can't even see the Atma. But what is an Atma? Maybe let me ask you to type in your understanding of what an Atma is. And then you'll see if that answer makes any sense or not. Let me see. Yeah, actually, this is going to be too much work for me. Sorry. To go through all these questions. So let's just do it. Let's just do it like that old way that I've been doing it so far, where I close up my eyes and then look at the next question that catches my attention. Otherwise, I spent too much silent time looking for a question, and that's also boring for you. But here's one. Why a man's moon has to be behind a woman's moon? And what does that mean from house to house or sign to sign? I like that. I feel like answering that question. I like all the questions, but sometimes I don't feel like talking about them. This is called Sri Dirga. And first of all, you will have to have the maturity to be able to extract the fundamentals of masculinity and femininity. And I say extract because I mean keep it separate from Joan, who lives down the street from you, and Jack, who lives up the street from you. Just Jack, who lives up the street from you, is a man. And Joan, who lives down the street, is a woman. But the principle of masculinity and femininity is not identical to Jack and Joan. Jack and Joan have a mixture of so many male and female traits. Okay, so first, if you have the maturity or clarity of mind to extract masculinity and femininity from specific men and women, including yourself, then you can much more easily understand masculine and femininity. Masculinity is the Mars, right? Mars represents masculinity, and Mars is independent, adventurous, goes off on its own, and bold. So Mars gives energy and catalysts. Mars goes out. That's the basic thing about masculinity. You can't deny it. It's in the physicality of sexuality. Is that men go out, their sexual organ goes out, and then it just makes a catalyst for the conception. Whereas women take in, and then receive a catalyst, and then make it something amazing. So that's the basic principle on the physical scale, but that's also the mental. The reason why physical structures exist is because of mental structures. Our mental structures create the physical structures that we have. So let me see here. Everything's cool? Everything's all right? Yeah. So, I got stuck. I got some technical glitch in my computer, and then I got stuck. Now what? Now I can't get back to it? Hey, here I am. Okay. So masculinity and femininity. Masculinity goes out, femininity comes in. That's a physical structure. Physical structures are based on mental structures. Mental structures are based on deep, deep emotional things. So the male's nature then is to lead. That's why people say, well, why are all the famous scientists male? It doesn't mean that they're smarter than women. It just means that they're more outgoing than women. Because men lead. They go out. That's the male nature. So that's why you want to have the distance. I can't remember the exact rule for Sri Dirga, but the distance should be between the male's moon and the female's moon should be such that the energy is applying from the male to the that the male moon is leading the female moon. I think it is that it should be in front. I think you may have gotten it wrong in your question. We could look this up and talk about it in the next live session. Exactly what Sri Dirga is. But the idea there is that because the male-female dynamic is that the male energy at least likes to lead, and the female energy likes to be led. Because then but it's not that it likes to be led in everything, but it likes to have a safe space in which to walk into, so that it can do something in that space. It's not that it likes to be told what to do, etc., etc. That's not what we mean by saying it likes to be led. But it likes to have a place already set out for it. But whereas the male likes to go out with a machete and make that place and cut down the trees. So that's why you want to have the male's moon in front of the female's moon. And there's a certain distance. The distance between the two tells you how good it is. Now, when you're interpreting this, you should realize that you don't just count it as a number and just say, oh, it's this score. But realize that this is the principle behind the thing. It's a male-female dynamic. So you should also keep in mind, well, sure, this woman that I'm doing this reading for, this assessment for, is a woman, but she's not a typical woman. She's not a very feminine woman. She's a woman that's got a lot of masculine traits. So she'll be fine in a relationship. Oh, got a call from my wife that I have to decline because I'm on Facebook Live. Sorry. So she's not a typical woman. So she'll be fine in a relationship where her moon is in front of the man. As long as that man is also in a situation where he's fine, he's not a typical man, that he will feel like emasculated if he can't be going out with the machete and forging the path. So it's not that a principle should be taken as an absolute. The principle of Sri Dirga is, hey, usually men like to be the trailblazer, and the woman likes to have the safe place that's been trailblazed and feel protected. So usually it works good in that situation. But if you have a relationship where that's reversed and Sri Dirga is not there, when you're just going by numbers, you'll take off the points from the compatibility result. But if you're doing a more personal assessment of the compatibility, you should take into account, like, is this okay for these people? Maybe these people actually look for it. If you have a male with a Mahabhagya Yoga in reverse, for example. So the Mahabhagya Yoga is if your physical gender. It's coming again. Let me give her a text message. I'm on YouTube Live. 50 people would be listening if I answer. Can you call later? Let's see. So what was I saying there? Yeah, so the Mahabhagya Yoga. The Mahabhagya Yoga is if your physical gender matches the time of the day that you were born, the gender, whether it's day or night, and the gender of the ascending sign, the moon sign, and the sun sign. If all of those genders match up, you have something called Mahabhagya, which means really attractive. Now, many times you'll have a situation where the physical gender is male, and then the Mahabhagya Yoga is all female. Or vice versa, you have a physical gender that's female, and Mahabhagya is all male. So there you'll get a very a gender non-typical person. So those people would be great. They would actually be looking for the relationship where the Stri Dirgha is reversed. Okay? Okay, my wife just sent me a smiley face, so everything's fine. All right, here we go. Let's see what else you guys got for me. Good morning, Janvi. Oh, Angela Sanchez wants to know what my Lagna Nakshatra is. I've said this a lot. Angela, give me a guess. Let's see what else we got here. All right. No, let me give you a heads up, right? And I think I've shortened the lag time, so I'll just give you a heads up. I'm gonna look for a new question very soon, as soon as I finish this mantra. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargadhevasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonna Prachodayat. Now I'm going to look and see what question catches my eye. About the soul choosing a gender. Phases of the moon. That looks interesting. Mercury and Mula. These are all interesting questions. I wonder if I should get questions in advance, because some of the questions require like a little research to answer. I'm just answering everything off the top of my head. That might be another thing I should do. But anyway. Wait, we got some speculation about myself. Hey, Parisa. All right, I'll just tell you my stuff. Let me just tell you my birth time, date, and place. Bayshore, Long Island, New York, USA. July 27th, 1970. Right? At 7:39, 1939, so 7:39 p.m. So you can figure out anything you want to figure out. Oh, cool. Here's a little question that Krishna just wanted me to answer. From Caroline. I often hear astrologers say I should stay away from relationships because my seventh lord is with Rahu, but isn't Rahu the direction we're going to? No, that's kind of a Western thing about Rahu. Frankly, I think that Western astrology doesn't understand Rahu and Ketu very well at all. That Indian astrology really has the mastery over what Rahu and Ketu symbolize and how they should be interpreted. It's not like it's where you're going to. Rahu just represents the future, so in that very vague sense, they come up with the idea that it's where you're going. It's not necessarily that way. If you have the seventh lord with Rahu, what you can expect is a couple of things, very likely. Now, you're going to have to put all of this into the context of your own chart. So if you have a chart that's got a very good Venus then seventh lord with Rahu is not going to produce the same effects as a chart of somebody with a very bad Venus. If you have a chart that has a lot of earth and stability in it, then the seventh lord with Rahu is not going to produce the same effects as it would in a chart with somebody who has a lot of air and instability in the chart, right? So, etc. If you have a nakshatra that's a Dhruva nakshatra, very enduring, then it's going to make a different result than if you have your nakshatra is Chala. So remember that the background of the chart has to frame your interpretation of any specific item in the chart. But as for the specific item of seventh lord with Rahu, what I would expect from that is relationships would end and begin suddenly. There would be a lot of them. There would be more than one partner. There would be a lot of relationships. The relationship might be with people that are very outgoing, expressive, people who are weird, futuristic, foreign people. Okay, that's the basic idea about the seventh lord with Rahu. So someone might say, well, you shouldn't try to get married because it's destined that you're going to have ups and downs and sudden ups and downs and many partners. Well, it depends on the whole background of your chart if that's a good interpretation or not. And even if you're going to have many ups and downs and many partners, maybe you should just try to approach it the right way. Maybe you should try to find the Rahu partner. It's all about how you approach your karma. It's not about what your karma is. That's not really important. Everybody thinks it's really important what's going to happen to them. But it's not important what's going to happen to us. It's absolutely not important what's going to happen to us, because you know what? It's not even real. What's really important is how we are going to feel about what happens to us. That's much more real than what actually happens. And what's more important than how we're going to feel about it is how that's going to motivate us and what we're going to learn from it. So if you feel motivated to look for a long-term relationship and you have the seventh lord with Rahu, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means that you should know. Let me have a heads up that I should probably look for a very unusual, kind of wild, avant-garde, futuristic foreigner that will satisfy the criteria for my seventh lord with Rahu. All right. That's my bit on that. Angela says, is Rahu time? Rahu Rahu and Ketu are not time. What is time? Right, what is time? Time is, Vidura asked Maitreya Muni in Bhagavad Purana, what is time? And Maitreya Muni said, time is nothing but the ability for changes to happen. Right? So that's why Rahu and Ketu are associated with time, because they're associated with changes. And Rahu is associated with future, Ketu is associated with past. Angel, this is kind of cool. I'm getting a lot of questions about Rahu. Since Rahu Ketu can eclipse the sun and moon, can they eclipse or provide eclipse results on the ascendant or Lord? Not usually. Actually, usually they only, because Rahu especially is very exaggerated. Rahu will exaggerate. That's why if the seventh Lord is with Rahu, you should expect many partners. Rahu is very exaggerated. Venus with Rahu, you tend to see exaggerated appearance. People that use a lot of makeup, or people that like to have push-up bras or something. Higher heels. It's like Rahu kind of effect on Venus. Rahu exaggerates. Ketu intensifies. So when you put Rahu or Ketu with points, expect Ketu will intensify the point and Rahu will exaggerate it, not eclipse it. And then there's this other, do you believe in the power of healing crystals and that kind of New Age thing? It's not like I don't believe in it. If I put a crystal in my hand, I feel something. Right? I feel something. I know that, if I just go to a waterfall, I hear something. Everything in the world affects everything in the world affects me. So of course crystals affects me, jewelry affects me, clothes affect me. But I don't believe that it's particularly powerful. What affects me a lot more is what my wife says to me, or what my daughter says to me, or how my son does at school. It affects me a lot more than a jewel or a waterfall. And then even more than that, what affects me even more than what people do or say to me is the ideas that I have in my head. So if you really want to do upaya, or remedy, for your difficult situations, don't look to stones and magic spells. The only reason magic spells are more useful than stones, but only if you understand the magic spell or ritual. But the real thing you should look to is ideas, the right kind of ideas. Getting different ideas into your head will change the way you experience life. And that's why mantras are important, because they communicate very powerful ideas. But you'll have to know what the mantra means. Yeah, this question also caught my eye. And a couple of them. You guys are asking really great questions, as usual. How do you see specific mental illnesses in a chart? Like, for example, I have ADHD. You will see problems to the moon, afflictions to the moon for mental disorders. You will possibly, and it will be confirmed by afflictions to the fourth house, afflictions to the sign of Cancer, afflictions to the fourth lord, and probably the 16th subdivisional chart. So, for example, if you have Rahu, probably a Rahu interaction with those points, Rahu with the moon, Rahu with the fourth lord, Rahu like right on the fourth cusp, you'll get ADHD. Because Rahu won't let you stay on one point for too long. That's another reason why the seventh lord with Rahu makes many partners. So ADHD is really, the real situation is there's too much going on in the mind. It's not like you can't concentrate on one thing, but it's not like you can't concentrate, but you can't concentrate on one thing because there's so many things to concentrate on. So that's why Rahu will do it. This was an interesting one too. Do I believe in cursing? I curse all the time. I love to curse. Even my kids curse. But cursing like giving sarp, giving a malediction. Yeah, that works. That does work. But so what? It doesn't work that powerfully. People, magic is not very powerful in Kali Yuga. Magic is very weak because people don't understand it anymore. It's a lost technology. So, I don't know. People hated me a lot for a while, if you remember back to the tropical Vedic astrology thing. And somebody told me that they cursed me by doing a Saturn puja. And in fact, when I went back to the date that they said it, I didn't give a damn about what they said, but when I went back to the date that I said it, that's when I started to have, my whole family started to have respiratory illnesses. Do I care? I don't care. The curses are very unpowerful. They're not powerful. They're less powerful than karma, and karma is way less powerful than jnana, and jnana is way less powerful than bhakti. Curses are just somebody's ill will towards you. That cannot contradict your karma or what you deserve, but the problem is we all deserve a lot of bad stuff because we're all shady characters. Even if we're not currently a shady character, we've all been doing shady things, and to one extent or another, we've all been doing stuff that's not great. Even if you aren't really have your eyes open enough to realize how selfish you're being in the choices of what you eat, for example, and choices of how you live. There's all kinds of bad shit that we're doing to give you a curse. So of course somebody's curse can be effective against us because we have so much bad karma. But actually, we don't care about curses. It doesn't make a difference. Don't go running around trying to counter curse a curse. Try to do good karma. That will automatically get rid of all the curses. And actually shouldn't care too much about karma specifically. Care more about jnana. Karma means good deeds. Jnana means good comprehension, good knowledge. Try to get good knowledge, then you'll start to do good deeds naturally, automatically. And then what to speak of curses or blessings? Who cares? And then if you have bhakti or love, then you'll automatically have the right understanding of the world and automatically right deeds. So I don't care about curses, this or that. I care about whether or not I have any comprehension at all of what bhakti is. All right, let's look for another one. Another question. Mental illnesses, curses. Aha, Eddie Rosario. What are your thoughts on unequal nakshatra divisions? Nakshatra. I think unequal division would support your ideas. Well, this is very interesting because, yeah, right? Kapilji just put out this video with Dr. Arjun Pai, no? And Arjun Pai was saying how they're investigating that, and now everybody knows about it and everybody's talking about it. Including me. Because one of my friends, Matishka, she sent me this questions about it, and then I started talking to them about it, and finding, and then kind of helping. Actually, Matishka mostly is helping them research because she's an excellent researcher. So what we found out by studying this book by Brahmagupta, there's an old book by Brahmagupta, and then there's another one. What was that other link? Oh, Siddhanta Shiromani? Siddhanta Shiromani and Brahmagupta's book that I can't pronounce the title, I forgot it. Well, what we figured out was that Aryabhata what we figured out is that the oldest, most basic and ubiquitous, useful way of considering the nakshatras is 27 equal divisions. If you look in the Vedanga Jyotish, you'll see it's 27 equal divisions. It's not 28 and it's not unequal. If you look in the Taittiriya Brahmana, they identify 28 nakshatras, but they divide them into 27 divisions, and they put the 28th Abhijit as a portion of Uttarashada. So, but there's something called Shukshma Nakshatra, which means a subtler form of nakshatras, which are specifically good for, I don't know what. We haven't really found out. The research hasn't really showed why would you use a Sukshma Nakshatra sometimes. But what we know is that there's something called Shukshma Nakshatra, which is a different way of calculating nakshatras that doesn't replace or contradict the 27 equal divisions, but is like a different way of doing it under certain circumstances. Probably, I get the feeling, probably much like under certain circumstances you wouldn't use Vimshottari Dasha. You would use Ashtottari Dasha or some other Dasha, but most of the time you would use Vimshottari Dasha. And in that system, it's exactly the one that Dr. Arjun Pai explained in Kapil's video, where there's some nakshatras are the normal length, some are 1.5 times, and some are half the length. Aaron, you remember that guy, huh? Even if he didn't do it, the fact that I knew about it was the universe's way of making me think that he did it. So that's the way that I get the experience of being cursed anyway, even if he didn't. Oh, there's so many questions here. Here's a question from Angela. Who's your guru? You should never ask anybody that question. I know everybody just goes around and asks people who's their guru. You know, that's a personal question. It's too personal. You ask me who my guru is. I don't want to reveal my guru. And this is the Shastra advises you not to reveal 4 things. Not to reveal your mantra, not to reveal your malas that you use for counting your mantras, not to reveal your guru, and not to reveal your sadhana or bhajan. There's 4 things are too private. You shouldn't tell anybody. You see, everybody goes and says, who are your guru? Because it's kind of, I kind of find it, In some circles, like, they just want to box you into a category, like, oh, you're this person's guru, so you must be exactly like that. Or the other one is, oh, you're this person's guru, so now to hell with you, let me go find that guru. But the disciple of a guru is the disciple. It's not the disciple is a carbon copy of the guru. The disciple of a guru is a unique individual. But I will say that I probably have too many gurus to list. Malas are the beads, the counters. The reason why you don't want to reveal a mala is because A, it shows that you're meditating. It shows that you're doing your mantra. You don't want to advertise that. And B, the condition of your mala shows how much you meditate. Yeah. But it's always interesting, like, wow, where did you get this knowledge? That is a good question. You should always ask a person, oh, you're saying the sky is blue? Where did you find that out? And they'll say, well, look, you can see it for yourself. Or someone will say, well, you're saying that Abhijit should actually just be the fourth pada of Uttarashada. Where did you hear that? That's a good question. That's an intelligent question. And then the person's answer should be, you evaluate the respectability of their answer. Well, I heard it from such and such person. Okay, well, that just passes the buck. Where did that person hear it from? It has to come down to somebody's experience. Or it has to, so you want to see, it has to be the experience of a very, very qualified person, or it has to be the experience of Vishnu as given in the Vedas. All right. Let's see, maybe we got some other questions. Is seeking knowledge a type of greed? That's a nice question. Who asked that question? Who asked that question? And now I can't find it. That's how. Oh, here it is. Cardinal Drama. Cardinal Drama, I give you 1 gold star for a wonderful question. Is seeking knowledge a type of greed? In Gita, Krishna says, Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam. There's 4 kinds of people that come towards me. Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, Gyani. And then in the next statement he says that the Gyanam Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanam Mam Prapadyate Samahatma Sudurlabha. He says that the Gyani is the most amazing, that the Gyani is really the only one who's really coming towards me. But the Gyani is somebody who has got knowledge. But the third type, Artha, Artharthi, and then Jignasu, the third type is the Jignasu. Somebody who's seeking knowledge. Gyani is somebody who's got knowledge. So the person who's seeking knowledge is seeking knowledge for knowledge's sake. That's greedy. Because this knowledge will give you power, and you can make money with it. And I want to learn astrology because I want a career. So, or I want to learn farming because I want a career. Whatever, the knowledge will give you some more resource. So that's greed. But what else? So I should never look at the questions while I'm answering one other one. But knowledge does not have to be greedy. Actually, the best way to get knowledge is from bhakti or love. When you love the subject, then you automatically want to know about it, just for the sake of the subject. And then that's not greed. So that's the difference between a Gyani. A Gyani is actually a bhakta. A Jigyasu is somebody that just wants knowledge for the power that it gives. You'll see this in how people choose the deity who they worship. A lot of people are really gung-ho into Shiva because they feel that Shiva will give them so much power. And Vishnu, what's Vishnu going to give you? Nothing. He's just sleeping all the time. So that kind of thing is not bhakti. That's greed. You want power, even if you want enlightenment. But if you want bhakti or love, that's the right thing. Then you'll also get knowledge to support it. People want to know about why I'm dressing. how I dress. I lived for 8 years or so in a temple as a brahmachari. So during those 8 years, I wore nothing but this kind of cloth, and just got to be comfortable for me, and I like it because but of course these days I don't walk around with kurta, or not a kurta, even chadar and what do you call this, lungi or kanta. I don't walk around like that in Japan. But I still like to have some kind of item that puts, because the environment why do I have my environment? Why do I have these instruments here? Because it makes me feel a certain way. Why do you put yourself in an environment? Because the environment affects you. The clothes that you put on your body, the hair, whatever you do to yourself, with yourself, affects the way you feel, and then thereby affects the way you operate. So I love to have some kind of article of clothing that reminds me or makes me feel like I'm in touch with Krishna, I'm in touch with the Vedas, I'm in touch with the Vedic culture. Especially when I'm doing something where I feel that's necessary, like answering questions about astrology or something like that. So, when I teach English, I don't put on my chadar. But sometimes in the winter, I like, as much as possible, I like to go out with things, and it looks cool. People like it. All right, so just on this point too, like people say, why do you dress like an Indian? Folks, I'm not dressing like an Indian. I'm dressing like myself. This is how I dress. And because I lived this life for 8 years. So that part gets underneath my nails. Let's see the rest. Another question. What combinations would you consider for interfaith marriage? Rahu's influence. So again, Rahu on the 7th Lord, anything like that, right? Rahu in connection with the 7th Lord. Rahu is, that's why I said you would want a partner that's unconventional, wild, futuristic, something like that with Rahu. So a foreigner. So a foreigner also means has a different culture, a different religion. Rahu's connection there. Now also, I got to tell you that it's not so, this is lovely to have the Q&A, but you are not going to learn astrology so well by just asking specific questions. Because what Rahu with the 7th Lord means in one chart, as I said earlier in this video, what it means in one chart is totally different than what it means in another chart. Just like if you have a sitar, you have so many strings on the bottom, and you never play those strings, but they still sound when you hit the string on the top. It makes the strings on the bottom listen. It makes the strings on the bottom sound. So just like things like the strings on the bottom of a sitar are like the rising sign, the moon's nakshatra, the rising nakshatra, all those basic background principles. They're not specific things in the chart, but they make a difference to what the instrument sounds like. So if you really want to learn astrology, put your questions towards the basics. What is this sign all about? What does this sign symbolize? What does this house symbolize? What does this planet symbolize? After knowing what a house, a sign, and a planet symbolize, then you can really understand what does it mean when you have this planet conjoin that planet, or this planet in that house, or this planet in that sign. And you also have to put your questions, even that is a bit piecemeal. You have to put your questions towards what is the basic approach to reading an astrology chart. That's why I did that series of videos about how to read a birth chart. And there's a playlist on my channel on how to read a birth chart. Go to the early videos and go through the first 10 or so. And you'll see like there's a way, a system of approaching it where you gradually focus in. I don't distrust astrologers who don't share their charts. I just am the kind of person who's extroverted. So I don't mind letting people look at my chart. But if I was an ooh, I like this question. Matre, Anthrax or Exodus? Exodus, that album that has Piranha on it, and Anthrax only up to spreading the disease. Okay, next question. Does the tropical zodiac operate differently in the southern hemisphere? No. The only reason why someone would think that it would is if they think that the tropical zodiac is defined by seasons, which is a prevalent misconception. Tropical zodiac has to do with seasons, but is not defined by seasons. The tropical zodiac, the zodiac, any zodiac, is defined by the planets who rule the signs, the elements that the signs are made of, and the modality, the movement, the nature of the sun's movement in that sign. So every planet is either cardinal, fixed, or dual. Every planet is either earth, water, fire, or air. And every sign is either cardinal, fixed, or dual, earth, water, fire, or air, or ruled by a specific planet. It has nothing to, and all of the symbolism of each sign is a result of the combination of the ruling planet with the element and the mode. So the ruling planet, the element, the mode don't change if you're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. It doesn't make a difference. The relationship between the zodiac signs and the seasons is secondary. The fact that when the sun is in Aries, it becomes spring in the northern hemisphere and it becomes fall in the southern hemisphere. That's coincidental. That's a secondary thing. It's not the part of what you say. It's so hard not to get distracted by all these comments here. Somebody's saying I'm only taking Western questions. I don't even know who's Western or not. Please try to come online according to Indian time. Dear John V, I only can do it according to my time, because I just got to do it when I have free time in a day. All right. What do we got? We got 8 more questions. We got 8 more minutes. What else we got for a question? Jupiter retrograde in Pushya. Well, Jupiter in Pushya is very good, right? Because Pushya belongs to Brihaspati. And Jupiter is very much like Brihaspati. In fact, in India, we call Jupiter Brihaspati. So Jupiter in Pushya is great. So what about that it's retrograde? Well, that now you're adding something in. But why just add that in? You have to look at the whole chart. What kind of aspects, what kind of conjunction, what house is it the Lord of? You got to take all those things into account before you can get a really useful answer to the question of what is this Jupiter in Pushya. But basically what Jupiter in Pushya means is blessed. Because Pushya is a quick nakshatra and lets things flower and come to fruition. So, and Jupiter is also letting things grow, come to fruition, and gives blessings for things to grow. So Jupiter in Pushya should basically indicate great expansion and great ability to grow. If Ketu is with Jupiter and Pushya, you just now add that in. You guys should be able to do this, but you probably just want to see, get like a guide from me or something. Ketu and Jupiter, you can do this. You just say, okay, Ketu is what does Ketu and Jupiter have in common? Or where do they clash? Ketu and Jupiter clash because Ketu tries to pull things down, Jupiter tries to make things bigger. So that's not going to work then. If Ketu is with Jupiter and Pushya, then it's not really like you're going to get tons of material results. But where does Ketu and Jupiter have things in common? Ketu is spiritual, Jupiter is very philosophical. Pushya belongs to Brihaspati, so you can get a lot of knowledge. So it will alter the results if you throw Ketu in there with Jupiter and Pushya. then instead of being an indicator of getting a lot of wealth and prosperity and success in all your endeavors, you're going to get a lot of knowledge. You're going to have a lot of information and insight, and you're going to grow in that way. Eddie wants to know if space in its essence moves. No, this is a nice question. Space can't be located. So movement is all about location. Space can't be located. Space is the container of locations. Janice, are you the one? So somebody asked me about my guru, and now someone's asking me if I'm a masculine personality. Well, I'm a man. I have a man's body. So that makes it impossible to go beyond a certain limit of not being masculine. But otherwise, besides that, most of my masculinity is rather hidden in the 8th house. Look at my chart, you'll see. Sun, but good, but strong, but in the 8th house. So the Sun and Mars are in Leo in the 8th house. So that's where my masculinity is. Which is in a sense as good as in a place where you want it. But I'm more about, my rising sign is Capricorn, which is a feminine sign. The moon is in Gemini. The more prominent planet is Jupiter, so it's kind of not really one or the other. It's balanced. Let's see what else we got. All planets in Bhuva Loka? Yes, they are all in Bhuva Loka. It's not exactly Bhuva Loka, it's just Bhuva. Bhuva is the local space. Thank you, Naga. You have the space is defined in Bhagavad Purana as this big gigantic sphere. Sorry to the flat earthers who think Bhagavad Purana is flat earth, but Bhagavad Purana describes, as all the Puranas do, describes space as a big sphere, and it says that in the middle of the sphere is the earth, which is Bhu. The outer of the sphere is Swa, and in between the earth and Swa is where the sun moves around. So that's called Bhuva. The in-between space is Bhuva. All right, guys. Was astrology ever used to create a caste system? No, they didn't need astrology for that. You just needed social tyrants and despots. The caste system is based on the Varnashram system of Vedic culture. But the difference between the caste system and the Varnashram system is that in the Varnashram system, you have a Varna according to the things that you actually do. Guna, karma, vibhagasa. It was described in Gita. Chatur vitam maya shrista guna karma vibhagasa. Krishna said that these 4 systems were created by me via the Vedas, or not even via the Vedas. These 4 systems are inherent in the world that I've created, the 4 types of people. But you're differentiated between them by guna and karma, by your actions and qualities. So that was the original system. It wasn't done by birth. But it became corrupt when it became corrupt in 2 ways. The first way it became corrupt is that the Brahmana is the person who understands things. That's what Brahmana means. They have knowledge. They should be at the top of the social chain. Because if you don't have people who understand things at the top of the social chain, then you don't make good decisions. And the people who have power, they should not be at the top of the social chain. They should be high at the social chain, but not at the top. That's the Vedic Varnashram concept. So the Kshatriya is subordinate to the Brahmana. The person who has power is subordinate to the person who has knowledge. But what happened is, let's say maybe I was a Brahmana and I had knowledge, and so therefore society respected me greatly, and then I had my sons and daughters, but I neglected to really educate them, or for some reason they didn't have capacity to learn the things the way I did. Well, I didn't want them to go down into a different social status and have a different kind of life, not enjoy the respect and everything that I enjoyed. So I just said, well, look, these are my kids. Of course, they're Brahmanas like me. And then society starts to accept that. And so then what happens is the Brahmanas don't actually have any knowledge. They just know a couple of tricks. They know a couple of rituals, or they just dress a certain way, or they just tell you junk, pretend like they know what they're talking about. but they still want to get the respect and they still want to tell everybody what to do in society. So that's how the caste system came about. All right, guys. Let's do one more question. I can't answer that about Shankaracharya Pitas because I don't know anything about that. But you know what? No, even sidereal, I'm not Sagittarius. Capricorn, obviously, right? Let's see. I'm going to scroll up to the kind of the front. How do we, Prasad Bhuttavarapu, how do we interpret different systems like Gemini and Parashara in astrology? So, like, why are there different systems? There's different systems. Just like, why are there different systems of medicine? If one works, why don't you just stick with that one? Well, there's just different ways to do things. And different people have different things that they like to do. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one road that gets to Rome. So there's more than one system. But actually, in the specific case that you mentioned, which is Gemini Parashara, actually, they're not two different systems. The Parashara system is the basic fundamental system of astrology, especially Indian astrology or the Indian preserved astrology, which is highly logical, mathematical. That's the really strong point of Parashara astrology, is that it gives you calculations, way to calculate things. How do you calculate how positive a planet is? How do you calculate how strong it is? Not just make a guess, but actually get a calculation of it. Parashara gave us all those basic fundamental principles and the things that you should know. You should know how positive a planet is. You should know how strong it is. You should know how it transits, etc. He defined all those things. Gemini is a extension upon Parashara. It's just a refinement and of certain principles in addition of a couple of little things. It's not that it's some completely different system. In fact, there are really very few completely different systems of astrology in the world. Even if you go to a Western astrologer, it's basically the same system as if you go to an Indian astrologer. It's basically the same. The planets basically mean the same things. The signs, the houses basically mean the same things. There's still aspects, conjunctions, everything is basically the same. By the way, the words Parashara and Gemini are probably not very, very accurate. It's not really developed by Gemini. Gemini was the Purva Mimamsaka Acharya. Gemini was the one who wrote the Gemini Sutra, which is not an astrology book. The Gemini Sutra is the hermeneutical rules for how to interpret the words of the Veda, specifically about the Samhitas like Rig, Samar, Yajur, Atharva. So he would be beloved by astrologers because astrologers are basically karmis. Astrologers are concerned with karma, and Gemini is a karmi. He's telling you how to do the right karmas and how to understand what the Vedic principles of karma. So somebody developed a school of astrology under his name. It's very common in the old days to do that. It's out of humility, really, not by anything nefarious. And then Parashara was the father of Vyas. So Parashara was not likely. It's not likely that he actually is the author of Parashara Horse Shastra. Maybe they are, but it's not important. All right, guys. So remember, next week, let's see if we can pick a theme for next week. Give me a couple of ideas in the comments after we go offline. Give me a couple of ideas for themes that you would want me to focus the hour on. All right? I thank you all for sharing this hour with me. And I'll see you next week, right? See you next week. Haribol. I'm going to shut. I didn't get to do any singing or anything because you guys were all really busy. Okay. Farewell for now. See you next week.